Man, it's Tuesday. And it's Tuesday and it feels like negative Monday. Like somehow it's another Monday. Look at this. Look at the rest. The rest of these just completely tangled. This is why they invented wireless ones. Why don't I just get a mic? Why don't I just get a mic? Money, that's why. Can't believe half my videos are out of focus. That's why they invented those vlogging cameras with the screen that kind of shows up behind you, so you have some say in that. I magically don't have say in that because I don't have that camera, so it's okay. It's okay. I can deal with a little jank. I can deal. All right, guys and girls, men and women, boys, ladies, humans, Bigfoot. You know, it's getting tougher and tougher to find prompts for these videos. But I only had one for today that I was thinking of. I just don't think it's gonna work very well. So here's what I was thinking. I was thinking, man, if I do these the rest of my life, then I've got the rest of my life to, you know, to do some serious ones if I wanted to. So I thought, what if I completely made up a story the whole time? Just talked a fictitious story, like an audiobook. Maybe I walk you through my story process in person during the time. You know, like a rough draft. Like we build a rough draft right here. Let's write a rough draft. All right, so where we gonna start? Already started last time, the time before last. I started with the idea of an ostrich in an office, or an office guy that works in his office and types on his computer, but he's an ostrich. That was my punchline right there. So here's how we'll start. The opening image. We see this man, but he's an ostrich man. He's the only ostrich man. The rest are people, and he's working at a typewriter. Let's see if we follow the hero's journey, because one could argue that every story is a hero's journey story. I know, that's up for debate. Some of you guys are like, no. It's just the 3-act structure. That's okay though. You can tell the stories the way you want to tell the story. When you want to talk about an ostrich man, you can do that. I'm leaving that option open. If any of you want to take this and run with it, produce a plethora of short films and narrative films, by all means, go ahead. Your opening image, he's at the desk, he's working. Then our theme is stated somewhere in there, where this guy walks up to this ostrich man. We'll call him Ostrich. We'll call him Richie the ostrich. This guy walks up to Rick. He's got his very conically shaped water cup that you get at offices, and he's just drinking his, basically looks like a melted snow cone. It's not, it's just water, but he drinks his water. He goes, man, Rich, you're such a boring guy. Why don't you come hang out with us after work? And Rich is like, no, I don't think I will. But he's like, all right, and he goes and sits back down. And see what I did there is I actually was juxtaposing him being the only ostrich there was, to also being the most boring guy, which is exactly opposite of what's playing out in reality. So that's a good little pun there. Let's see, hero's theme stated. I don't remember all of the hero's journey, so I'm just winging it here. Call to action. I guess that was a little bit of the call to action. And he kind of refused the call. But then there is, wow, I can't talk half the time. Then there's supernatural aid. That's what this category is called. And how are we gonna pull that into the story? Okay, let's just run with something here. He's driving home. Richie's driving home, and he calls his girlfriend because there is love for even an ostrich. I don't know how that relationship would work, but for even an ostrich man. And she says, hey, Richie. And he goes, hey, Penelope. And she's a human too, like everyone else is human, mind you. She goes, what are you doing after work? You wanna go eat some food? You know, the code. And he says, I don't know. I think I was just gonna have some leftovers. And she says, come on, Rich. And then he says, no. Okay, I'm seeing now that is the, oh wait, no, because then she goes, okay, well, if we can't go eat food, you know, the code, then I'm out of here. And then she picks up her bags and leaves. This poor little ostrich man. And I was faced with this problem, this dilemma. He's got to change his life and not be a boring ostrich man. This is when our supernatural aid comes in. He meets his friend walking across he still hasn't changed yet. That happens later. He meets his man walking, so he's walking on the sidewalk home from work because, I don't know, he decides to Oh, maybe Penelope. Yeah, Penelope's got the car. She takes the car. They were sharing it. Now he's walking home, and he runs by this dojo. Okay, it's like a regular dojo, as one would see on a sidewalk regularly. And then the dojo master says, "Good evening." And Richie goes, "I need to fight." He goes, "All right, let's fight." And then they do a training montage, and there's no questions asked. Nothing talked about payment or money. It's just he learns how to fight. He gets shredded. And all this while, he's wondering, he's trying to figure out how to win back his girl, his sweet Penelope. And then here comes our midpoint. You ready? So Penelope in a midpoint. He goes to find Penelope. So he's ripped at this point, right? It's a training montage, so time just travels by faster. That's how training montages work. And then he goes back and he sees Penelope, and she's married to another guy, and he is crushed. I don't know what happened in all that time, and maybe he was better off without Penelope. Who knows? We might not know this context. He is heartbroken. He's ripped. He's the most shredded ostrich man you'll ever see, but he's heartbroken. So it's almost meaningless. So that is the midpoint. Things have changed. He got what we wanted, but not what he wanted. So then he goes, well, I'm gonna make a life for myself anyway. And after the midpoint, things start getting kind of tough. He trains some more, but this time he puts it back into work. He goes back to work. Now, granted, he's probably 3 times as buff as he was before. All of his coworkers, because it's a comedy, they're like, have you been wearing different cologne? You seem different. And they're not pointing out the obvious because they're blind as a bat. They were blind as a bat to begin with because they thought he was uninteresting, but he's the only ostrich man that exists. So we've got this buff ostrich man working on this computer, and he's just working away. He's typing away. And here comes the bad guys. The bad guys are closing in. And the boss. The bad guy's his boss. Maybe he was hinted at the beginning. Probably not. Turns out that his boss is the one that Penelope married. That is our turning point. Maybe that's the midpoint. All right. So we kind of go back a little bit. That's the midpoint. Here comes the bad guys are closing in. And I don't know what this guy's name is. We'll call him Chaz. Chaz walks up to Richie and goes, he says, "Richie, your performance lately has been terrible." And Richie goes, "I'm trying my best." He goes, "Well, your best isn't good enough." And then he says, "You have 3 weeks. And after that, if your performance doesn't increase, you're fired." I was kind of giving him a gangster voice. I don't think he's like a mobster. Maybe, if he was, I don't know what. He'd just be a human mobster, I think. So then Richie continues to work. He works super hard and eventually starts realizing the thing he had the whole time. He's got a beak. So as an ostrich man, he then uses his beak and his arms to type with, technically with 50% more efficiency. So he is 1/3. You get it because he's got 2 arms. So then you add an extra one, that's another 50%. So he becomes 50% more efficient, faster. His boss comes back, he goes, "Wow, we're surprised, we're keeping you." And that's basically it. Our closing image is he's slightly more productive, he's slightly more buff. He didn't get the girl of his dreams, but what he got? A real sense of purpose. Like now he's like I don't know what lead sales man ostrich. That's kind of our closing image is this guy who's an ostrich. And I think the real kicker here is that we don't realize that he is an ostrich. He just is using a little bit of his ostrichness. That's right. That's what a rough draft. What a rough draft. And you guys are free to spin that story up a little bit if you want. But I throw them all the credits in there. Throw me in there a little bit. Original concept by yours truly. If you wanna pitch it somewhere. Maybe it's like a sequel to BoJack Horseman. But BoJack already has a lot of anthropomorphized animals. We already got a lot of those. We don't have any ostriches though. So maybe I spin that up as a pilot. Maybe I make a pilot episode. Who knows? I don't know. I'm looking at the clock here. I know it gets cut down later. You're watching a shorter video, of course, but I just spitballed that whole pitch for 30 minutes. Whole 30 minutes. I've probably lost half of you during that. My retention rate is probably this much, which has no quantitative number there, just this much. I probably lost this much. I have this much retention rate, but I hope it's entertaining. I guess I haven't tried that, so I'm gonna try something I haven't done, which is spit up a story in one sitting, live, recorded. Anyway, go be Go be an ostrich, man. All right. All of you guys are ostriches, right? Unique. All right. Go be an ostrich. Go be an ostrich.